Now we return to local news with Rod, who will start with sport.
Enfield 1893 enjoyed one of their best results of the season on Saturday as they eased to a 3-0 victory at high-flying FC Romania in the Essex Senior League. The E's have endured a difficult campaign with few highlights, but they suddenly found their best form over the weekend as they outplayed a side who went into the match lying fourth in the table. Lewis Page broke the deadlock on 37 minutes before second-half goals from Scott Curley and Aaron James wrapped up their triumph. Enfield faced their last game of the season on Saturday when they host Takeley at 3 p.m. Brimstone's hopes of securing promotion from Division 2 of the Spartan League suffered a setback as they lost 1-0 at home to fellow High Flyers New Bradwell St Peter on Saturday. The hosts, who lie third in the table, went into the match 3 points above their visitors, with a vastly superior goal difference, but having played a game more. And there was little to choose between the sides for most of an evenly contested game, with Brimstone going close on 20 minutes when Ola Akawande fired a ball across the face of goal, which no one was able to turn in. The decisive moment arrived on 33 minutes when Lloyd Nurse scored for New Bradwell with a fiercely struck low shot which beat home keeper Harry Barfoot. Ralston Gabriel fired just over for the hosts prior to the interval, while a strong start to the second half from Brimstone saw Akawande fail to find the target with a free header before the same player had a clever backheel cleared off the line. But New Bradwell managed to weather the storm, and only a stunning save from Barfoot prevented them from extending their advantage on the break as they secured a vital victory. Brimstone are without a match this weekend.
And I have rugby union. Enfield Ignatians ended their season in London Division 2 North East with a 45-29 defeat at home to resurgent South Woodham Ferrers on Saturday. A match of 12 tries saw Ignatians remain in contention in a first half, during which Wes Warren and Heidi Fayers touched down to leave them trailing 19-12. Ryan Brown, 2, and Liam Horn crossed the line in the second period to ensure that Ignatians collected a bonus point. But the hosts paid the price for making too many mistakes at South Woodham ran in 7 tries in total to ease to victory. We made a bright start, said skills coach Steve Atkinson. The first 15 minutes were really encouraging, but we clearly have work to do in the summer as we conceded 4 tries for restarts.
And now on to what's on, and it's jazz at the Chicken Shed, entitled The Clarinet Maestros. American clarinet ace Ken Peplowski and Europe's foremost jazz clarinetist Julian Mark Stringle will be backed by Craig Milverton's trio for an evening of swing and ballads from Sammy Kahn, Anthony Newley, Leslie Bricus and the Gershwins and more. For information, visit Chicken Shed, Chayside, Southgate, and the event is on Friday, April 24th at 7 p.m. More details can be found by calling 0208 292 9222 or visiting the website at chickenshed.org.uk.
And I have a what's on. The Glenn Miller Orchestra, the UK's most renowned big band, swings you back in time, playing wartime chart toppers and hits from the 40s such as Moonlight Serenade, Little Brown Jug, String of Pearls, Tuxedo Junction, American Patrol. This will be at the Millfield Theatre, Silver Street, Edmonton, Thursday, April the 23rd at 7:45 p.m. For tickets, ring 0208 886 4264 or millfieldtheatre.co.uk.
And I have a letter now from Rick Jewell in Hoe Lane in Enfield. It's entitled, Will Even More Police Be Taken Off the Streets? The recent arrests in Derby Road bring to total, as far as I can make out, 4 firearms incidents in the last few weeks in Enfield. The recent shooting in Brimstone, the arrest in Wellington Road, and the discovery on the Elsinge estate, along with this one in Ponders End, shows a worrying trend. Whilst I congratulate the police on taking these weapons off the street, it does make me wonder how many others are not being picked up. Is this recent activity indicative of how criminals feel that the coast is clear, so to speak? With fewer and fewer officers on the streets, it must give these individuals greater confidence that they will get away with this behaviour. I rarely see police on the streets now, whether that be on foot or mobile, so it must be heaven for those with criminal intentions. I go back to the local policing module introduced in September 2013, where we were assured that we would see no reduction in policing levels in Turkey Street, but that promise has seen us lose 4 out of the 6 officers we had. Serious youth violence is on the rise, and yet questions are asked as to why this increase. Isn't it obvious? Criminals feel untouchable at the moment, as the likelihood of getting caught is getting less and less. I understand that Enfield Police Station may be at risk of being closed. Won't this mean a longer response time to any issues on the peripheries of the borough? Are we going to see further incidents of gun-related crime come the next round of budget cuts for the police, where even more officers will be taken off the streets?
And I have a letter from Joan Ryan, who is the Labour parliamentary candidate for Enfield North. And she says, the bedroom tax was introduced in the UK on April the 1st, 2013. Alongside the huge rise in food banks and 0 hours contracts, nothing reveals more about the legacy of this government than this cruel tax that has hit 483 low-paid households across Enfield North and many more across the borough. The average cost to a family hit by the bedroom tax in London is currently £1,060 a year, and more than half the people who have to pay it are disabled. Some of the most vulnerable people with the least security have been forced to pay more at the worst possible time. If the Tories and Lib Dems win again, those affected would pay an additional £5,300 over the course of another 5 years. I'm proud that one of my first acts is if elected, on May the 7th, would be to scrap this cruel and unfair tax.
Now back to general news. 2 men have been jailed for an attempted murder for their part in a failed gang assassination. Christopher Annan, 24, of Denham Road, Barnet, and Tyrone Wright, 20, of East London, were jailed for a combined 49 years for attempting to murder Inan Erin in Forest Road, Enfield, on December 30th, 2012. The pair had been hired by Hackney Turks to carry out the murder of Mr. Erin, a cousin of Zafar Erin, who was murdered in the Medway, Southgate, in April 2013 by hitman Jamie Marsh Smith. He was jailed for 38 years last year. Inan and Zafar Erin were part of the Tottenham Turks, who have had a long-running feud with the Hackney gang. The court heard that on December 30th, 2012, Marsh Smith, Annan and Wright lay in wait for Inan Erin as he returned to his home. Marsh Smith approached from the middle of the road and fired at the victim. The first shot missed, hitting a window and showering his wife with glass. More shots were fired as Marsh Smith approached Mr. Erin to within an arm's length before escaping in a car. Mr. Erin was hit 3 times in the arm, leg and stomach, but he escaped to a nearby convenience store on Hertford Road, Enfield, where his wife found him. Mr. Erin went to hospital and survived the attack. A car, believed to have been used for the getaway, was later discovered on fire, not far from Marsh Smith's address. Items recovered from it indicated it had been used by Marsh Smith, Annan and Wright. Detective Chief Inspector Noel McHugh said Annan and Wright conspired with Marsh Smith and accepted a contract on Inan's life. The sad reality being they wouldn't even have been paid much money for their part in the attempt to murder him. They were motivated by money and had no dispute with their victim. These are professional and dangerous criminals, but through extensive and painstaking detective work, we were able to piece together the evidence that has resulted in them being sent to prison for lengthy sentences. The conviction of Annan and Wright means that the dangerous and violent criminal syndicate, which we're part of, has now been sentenced to over 119 years collectively in prison. Annan was jailed for 29 years, and Wright was sentenced to 20 years behind bars.
I have a notice here from the NHS Enfield Clinical Commissioning Group. And they say, we want to hear from you. NHS Enfield Clinical Commissioning Group, CCG, has a vision to ensure the voices of patients and carers are at the heart of our decision-making. Enfield CCG is working with the other 4 CCGs in north-central London, Barnet, Camden, Haringey and Islington, to improve the local NHS 111 service. This includes joining up the NHS 111 service and the GP out-of-hours services to enable them to work better together. We are doing it because we want to improve patients' experience of using and accessing urgent care services, making sure they receive the best care from the best person in the right place at the right time. We will be holding a public engagement event on Tuesday, the 28th of April, 2015, as an opportunity to hear from you. All Enfield residents are invited to come along and share your views and experiences of existing services so that we can work together towards developing the best possible service. Now, the date is Tuesday, the 28th of April, 2015. Time 1800 to 2000 hours, and the location is Dugdale Centre, Thomas Hardy House, 39 London Road, Enfield, EN2 6DS. More information about the proposals can be found on the NHS Enfield CCG website at http://www.enfieldidccg.nhs.uk. More than 23,000 motorists have been caught speeding in North London over the past 3 years. More drivers were caught speeding in Haringey than any other borough, according to information released after a Freedom of Information request to the Metropolitan Police. The Times and Independent series asked the Met how many motorists were caught speeding from March 2012 to 2015. In Haringey, a total of 17,653 people were caught during the 3 years, with 85 miles per hour, the highest speed recorded by cameras. In comparison, 4,187 were caught in Enfield. The fastest was driving at 103 miles per hour, while a further 1,547 were caught in Harrow, where the fastest was driving at 87 miles per hour. Barnet saw the lowest number of motorists caught by cameras, with only 396 motorists recorded and a top speed of 83 miles per hour.
Two hopefuls in the race for a seat on Enfield Council have insisted that their respective family relations had no bearing on their decisions to stand. The by-election in Jubilee Ward in Edmonton was triggered earlier this month when Rohini Simboyadal, Ward Councillor and former Cabinet Member for Culture, Sport and Public Health, resigned from Enfield Council. The ward is traditionally a safe Labour seat, and the two other councillors in Jubilee are Labour's Bernadette Lapage and Alev Kazimoglu. Ms Kazimoglu's daughter, Nazil, has been selected to stand for Labour in the May 7th by-election, and has dismissed any suggestion that her selection was the result of her mother's position as a councillor. If elected, it would mean that there would be 2 mother-daughter pairings on the Labour side of the chamber, as the Kazimoglous would join Claire Stewart, ward councillor for Southgate Green, and her mother, Mary Maguire, who represents Palmer's Green. Ms Kazimoglu of Woodstock Crescent, Edmonton, told the Advertiser that her decision to run had little to do with her family connections and added, "I have been a member of the Labour Party for 12 years. I joined when I was 14 years old. In many ways, I grew up in the party, and then, when I was a student, I was very active in the Labour student movement. But also, I really care about Enfield. I live in Jubilee Ward, and I believe in the importance of local government to people here." She added that the Labour selection process had been independent and that ultimately the voters can decide for themselves on May the 7th. Her mother told the Advertiser, "It has been a normal thing for many years for fathers to follow their sons into politics. So why should it not be so unusual for daughters to follow their mothers?" Ms Kazimoglu's Conservative rival in the battle for the vacant seat is Nazim Celebai, the husband of Bush Hill Park ward councillor Erin Celebai. He was also adamant that his family connections had no bearing on his decision to stand and subsequent selection. "I am standing because I have 5 businesses within Enfield," he said. "I have a plumbing shop, which I am the director of. This means I know all the local issues around Edmonton. I do best in the community. I work with the Turkish Football League in London, with the under-14s, under-16s, under-21s, as well as running a Veterans League." If he is elected, the Celebis will join Robert and Elaine Hayward, who are councillors in Southgate and Winchmore Hill wards respectively, as the second married couple on the Tory benches. One current councillor, who did not want to be named, told the Advertiser that close family connections can sometimes be a problem. The councillor said, "I have seen instances where it can sometimes create a conflict of interests. Honestly, it can be problematic." Sharon Downer of Badderley Close is standing for UKIP in the by-election. Benjamin Maiden of Crossway Bush Hill Park is the Green Party candidate. And Matt McLaren of Green Lanes Palmer's Green is standing for the Liberal Democrats. The by-election will be held on the same day as the general election.
A 22-year-old man was rushed to hospital after he was stabbed in the leg. Police were called to Parsonage Lane in Enfield at 9:52 a.m. on Saturday, following reports of a fight. London Ambulance Service attended and treated the victim, who was found with a stab wound to his leg. He was taken to a North London hospital and later discharged. The suspect is described as a black man who is in his 30s and was wearing dark clothing. Initial reports on social media suggested the man was stabbed for his mobile phone. Detectives are investigating the incident. No arrests have been made so far. Any witnesses or anyone with any information can call police on 101 or Crime Stoppers anonymously on 0800 555 111.
Enfield's carers were described as unsung heroes of our society by Shadow Minister Liz Kendall when she visited the borough last week. The Labour politician, with responsibility for care and older people, made the comment during a tour of Enfield Carers Centre on Wednesday when she joined Labour's parliamentary candidate for Enfield North, Joan Ryan, who said her party's package of measures would help the nation's 5.4 million family carers. Ms Ryan said, "I've been a carer myself and think I can be a powerful advocate for them. Enfield has about 30,000 carers, and they are often vulnerable, so it's a completely false economy not to help them. The fantastic service offered by this centre means they have somewhere to turn." Pamela Brooke, Chief Executive of the centre in Baker Street, Enfield, told the Advertiser that many carers are suffering, particularly those whose charges have mental health issues. "There are a growing number of young adult carers too," she said. "We're working with those aged between 16 and 25. doing things, like liaising with colleges and universities about their needs. They love the people they're caring for, but they want to live their lives too. Carers are often very resilient people, but they can neglect themselves. Our centre provides them with an outlet.
I have another story about a man who's celebrating his 100th birthday. A man celebrating his 100th birthday said he was overwhelmed by the number of cards he received. Tommy Bruin of Woodcroft, Winchmore Hill, received phone calls and birthday cards from across the globe as the war veteran celebrated the big day with family and neighbours. Originally born in Glasgow, Mr. Bruin spent more than 4 months in northeast India in 1944 fighting the Japanese during the Second World War. The veteran was wounded and had to be airlifted during the battle, which Mr. Bruin describes as one of the most hair-raising experiences of my life. After the war, Mr. Bruin worked with the National Coal Board in Scotland before moving to Enfield more than 40 years ago. He said, "I have had calls from a lot of people I did not expect to hear from, including one friend in California, and an invitation to an old friend's 100th birthday who I had not heard from in a long time. I am overwhelmed by all these cards." Upbeat on his big day, Mr. Bruin revealed there was no secret to long life, but to enjoy it. He was also thankful to his wife, Renata, as they look forward to celebrating their diamond wedding anniversary later this year.
6 jobs have been created at a new shop that has filled the last vacant spot in Enfield Town's Palace Gardens shopping centre. Taking Shape, a plus-sized fashion store, was opened on April 1st by former EastEnders star Cheryl Ferguson. Palace Garden Centre manager Paul Duke said, "We are delighted that Taking Shape has joined our full complement of retailers at Palace Gardens. We're sure that the new store will add a new dimension to our strong mix of fashion, food and leisure. It's great for our shopping centre to have all its retail units occupied. It says good things about Enfield and makes for a nice, bustling atmosphere. Hope they do the same on the high street."
An Enfield estate agent is running the London Marathon for a charity that has played a huge role in his family's life. Andrew Ride, 48, and his wife adopted their child through children's charity Coram in 2012. Philanthropic sea captain Thomas Coram set up the original foundling hospital in 1741 to take in abandoned children. While preparing for the adoption of his daughter, Andrew found out that his great-grandfather too had been taken in by Coram in the late 1800s. "We got shivers up the spine," said Andrew, owner of Chamberlain's in Windmill Hill. "It felt like we had completed the circle, and this was clearly meant to be." Now Andrew is about to take on his first marathon, raising cash for Coram, now based near Great Ormond Street Hospital in London. He's lost 2 stone, given up alcohol and raised £1,800 for Coram in the process. After starting out slowly, he competed in a 10k race within 6 months before becoming addicted to running. Andrew has been a member of Trent Park Running Club for 4 years, and he praised members for the help he gets with training. "They are so supportive," he added. Andrew joked that it could be his first and last marathon, but he hopes to take on a big one in his 50th year. Paris, Dublin, New York or Berlin. "I would love to do another," he said, "but I think my wife might kill me." Donate to Andrew at www.virginmoney, or one word, giving.com/Andrew Ride 1.
6 CCTV images have been released of men wanted in connection with a jewellery shop burglary. 5 men on 3 mopeds were filmed forcing open the shutters of the store on Green Lanes, Palmer's Green, at 3:50 a.m. on Good Friday, April 3rd. Several items of jewellery were taken, and the suspects were seen fleeing in the direction of Fox Lane. Detectives are keen to speak with anyone who was in the area, possibly travelling on night buses that evening.
Enfield Borough Council has achieved an award for safeguarding people at risk of abuse and neglect. The Making Safeguarding Personal Award was given following an audit into the local authorities' protection arrangements. The report said the London Borough of Enfield demonstrates a clear commitment to empowering people who use services by delivering personalised information, advice and services, as well as involving people who use services in safeguarding from the beginning to the very end.
A student has penned a hard-hitting letter about the future of libraries in Enfield, and her petition, calling for them to remain open, has attracted 200 signatures from fellow pupils. Ruby Sampson, 14, said that although plans could see libraries run on a voluntary basis, she did not think it was practical. She said, "In London, people need to work to make a living, so have minimal time to volunteer, meaning the success rate of volunteer-run businesses is considerably low, leading to long-term closure." She described how she used Enfield libraries when she was too young to go to school, and still spots parents reading to their children when she visits Oakwood Library in Bramley Road now. Ruby, who lives in Grange Park and goes to Southgate School in Sussex Way, also pointed out that some people cannot afford books, and so libraries give a path to higher confidence in reading, an increased self-esteem, and a better ability to read. The teenager who volunteers at her school library also said that politicians were concerned that teenagers were spending too much time on technology, leading them to not being able to engage socially. She sent her petition to Tory general election candidate David Burrows before the dissolution of Parliament when he was still MP for Enfield Southgate, saying pensioners made up for a high percentage of library users. If libraries become inaccessible, the number of people using libraries will decrease, causing more to shut down, through no fault of their own, she said. She added that young people had opinions and felt strongly about the issue, as fellow pupils also signed her petition.
We have reached the end of our programme for this week. Thank you for listening. So from the team of
Rod,
myself, Lilian, with Colin on controls, it's goodbye, cheerio.